Your first job was in the army?
15 years old, I was going into the army. I had to grow up quick.
What was the toughest part of that?
I lost a few friends. They couldn't deal with life anymore. And then I had them same sort of battles when I was like 21. But I never would have went through with it because of how much I love my family.
You then obviously won the Traitors, which was a massive series. You're in the army. How does it come about?
Oh, mate, it's the maddest story ever because...
The first time you met Claudia Winkleman, did you...
Oh, mate, I was shivering in my boots.
Hi, Claudia.
Yeah, literally, I was like squeaking and stuff.
When she touches you on the shoulder, you shocked at that point?
It was weird because I was relieved.
So that final scene...
I did genuinely feel bad.
Just give us an insight into how your life has changed post the Traitors.
It's the weirdest feeling ever.
Who messaged you?
KSI. And I just went...
Hello, welcome back to another episode of Inside the Industry Unfiltered with myself, Adam Smith. Delighted to say on the podcast this week, a man that pretty much everyone in the country knows, the winner of the Traitors. It is Harry Clark. H, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. How are you?
I'm all right. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah,
I've been out with you a few times.
Yeah, I know.
You get recognised a lot now, don't you?
Yeah, it's mad, isn't it?
It is mad. There's a lot I want to get in with you. Let's start where it all began, your childhood. Tell us about sort of where you grew up and a bit about your family.
Yeah, I was born in Slough, born and raised in Slough. It was good, to be fair. Like, I love Slough so much because it, I guess, made me into the person I am today.
Yeah.
And being in Slough made me join the army. So I guess I've got to give it its praises because just it's one of them areas, you know, like when I was on the Traitors, actually, it was funny because the first time someone said, "Oh, where are you from?" I was like, "Oh, I'm from Windsor, darling." Which is what every person says from Slough because you don't want to say, "Yeah, I'm from Slough," innit?
Is that right?
Yeah, you just seem a little bit more posh if you say you're from Windsor.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, I was born in Slough, went to school in Slough, just on a council estate, really, in Burnham, with a load of family. So it was good growing up.
You got a big family, haven't you? Remind me how many brothers and sisters
I
you
got 4 brothers and sisters.
Wow.
And then I got a cousin that I basically call my little sister because she's there all the time anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So busy
There's
childhood.
loads of us.
Busy
Yeah,
childhood.
and like cousins, cool, I don't even know. I got like 25 or 30 cousins.
Have you?
Yeah.
Wow.
And then the best thing about that as well is like our friendship group is basically cousins.
Really?
If that makes sense. So it's like my older brother George, we're like best friends with our cousins, the Edmonds, who is Ted, Henry and stuff like that. And then their other side of the cousins is with like Frank, Edmonds and things like that. So then that's our side, then their other side is their cousins, and then Frank's cousins are the Smiths, which is like Kane Smith and stuff like that. So now I call him my cousin. So it's just like a big friendship group of family. So it's the best.
I love that. I love the way you're name dropping as well, as if I know all these people.
Yeah, I know,
It's like, no, I don't know them.
They'll be so happy with that.
Getting a shout out in the first minute of the pod. I love that. And of course, you're very close to them all as well. I know you told me that. You've got a really top. So all your mates effectively are family or cousins?
Yeah, all of them.
That's
and
amazing.
that's what I mean. It's good as well because like, I don't know, that's how I view my circle as well. I've kept it so small still.
Yeah.
Like, and then the people I like are the people like in this industry who are the same thing, like yourself. It's all about family and friends. So yeah, it's always going to stay that way. And then everything I do is for them and my family and my loved ones.
I love that. You, of course, prior to the Traitors, which we're going to get into, there's loads I want to ask you about that. But your first job or your first real sort of career path, I suppose, was in the army. Is that right? So how did that come about? What were you sort of prior to that into? What were your passions and why did you choose to go in there?
Yeah, so I started, I don't know if this is illegal to say or not, but I started working at butchers at like 13. So as soon as I could start working, I was a Saturday boy in a butcher shop. Yeah. And it was basically hands and knees, scrubbing the blood off the bottom of the fridges and things like that, just cleaning the whole shop from top to bottom.
What was that like?
Oh, I loved every minute of it. I was in the fridge, like my other cousin, just beating up the pig in that Rocky Balboa style.
Okay. Which you don't condone, but anyway.
Don't beat up pigs. But yeah, it was the best. Again, I mean, I come from such a working class family who work really hard.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's been really good for me, especially in this industry, because I even say to my manager now, work me like a donkey, because I'd rather work and be busy than not at all.
Really?
And I'll just sleep when I'm dead. That's what I always live by, because I have no kids now or yet. But I'm already working for my like baby girl, my baby boys, so now I can give them everything.
Love that. And because you're only 23 now?
23 now, yeah.
And you've already got that mindset, which is amazing. So why the army then? How did that come about?
Yeah, so then obviously I was working in the butchers till about 15, which was when I was in school. And that was just so then I had a bit of extra cash on the side. And if I could, I'd give my dad my money for like my phone bill and things like that, so he's not worrying. And then I just love football and boxing. I love football and boxing so much. I was such a sporty kid, and all of my family were. So then when I was at 15, it was like, well, what do I do now? Because I have to sort of, my dad's telling me I have to find a job, this and that. Excuse me. And so then I was like, my dad's obviously like, oh, you need to do something. You need to do something. My older brother got a scholarship with football, and then I wanted to do the same thing, but it sort of didn't work out for him. So he was just like, they weren't going to let me do the same sort of like things. They were like, you need to do something different. I was like, what can I do? And I remember I spoke to my granddad. So my granddad was in the forces as well.
Yeah.
And he was a paratrooper. And I remember one day I was just boxing training, because obviously my granddad had his own boxing gym. Jubilee ABC, shout out to the Britwell boxers.
Yeah.
And then he was just like, well, Harry, why don't you just join the army? Because you can box and play football while doing being a soldier.
Having a job, yeah.
So I was like, at 15 years old, I was like, so you're telling me I can box, play football, run around a field and shoot guns, all while getting paid for it?
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah. So then I was like, that's like a dream come true. So then from there, it was 15 years old, I was like going into the army.
That's when you applied, was it? At 15? And just tell us, what is the application process?
So I had a career advisor, because obviously I was only 15.
Yeah.
I needed my parents' permission, because you have to be 18 to be able to join the army off your own back. So my mum and dad had to sign everything off. And obviously no one had been in the army in my family. So it was very much like, oh no, they weren't really sure. But then obviously my mum knew I had so much energy as a kid. I couldn't sit still. I always wanted to be doing something. So she was like, maybe this will be perfect for you. And I remember I went in as a paratrooper, and you do your assessment course at about 15 and a half. An assessment course is where you basically get an insight on the military. So you go and stay away for 3 days from home. You're like put into a line, piled up outside a coach, shouted at and stuff, whatever, into your room, taught how to fold bed sheets into hospital corners and like keep your stuff really nice and pristine. And then while on that assessment centre, you do your testing for the regiment you want to join. So for example, I wanted to join the paratroopers, and the army has a fitness test for each sort of regiment you join.
Is that pretty brutal?
Well, it was when I started it. Now it's very easy, because it's just, I don't know whether that's because there's not enough people joining to make it. It's just, I'd say now it's more inclusive, so everyone can sort of have an attempt. Like for example, pull-ups, you had to be able to do 10 pull-ups when I was joining. You only have to attempt it now, so you don't even have to do one. Yeah, so it's like completely different. When I joined, it was like 1.5 miles in under 13 minutes. And now it's like 2K in 16 minutes. And it's like you can fast walk that. Yeah. But because I wanted to join an infantry unit called the paratroopers, you had to be like top of the pack, basically.
Fitness wise, and you had to be on it.
Yeah, so joining the paratroopers, it was like I had to run 1.5 miles under 9 minutes. Otherwise you wouldn't get accepted. And then it was like as many press-ups in a minute, over 50. Yeah. As many sit-ups in a minute, over 50. And it was just things like that. So when I joined the assessment, obviously I looked a lot better than I look now.
You're looking all right, mate.
No, I got my...
You're like you've just come back from holiday, mate. But look at this outfit, by the way you're rocking.
I know. It's like Italian mafia, isn't it?
Looks good, mate.
Living it up. No, but then I joined, went to the assessment centre, and I smashed all the fitness stuff. And then at the same time, you do problem-solving tests. So you get put in like a little booth. It's called like barb testing. You basically answer loads of questions. Like it tests you on pretty much everything. So it's like, say it's like Adam's taller than Harry. Who's taller? And then at the same time, it's like, okay, there's 5 shapes in this sequence. What's the next shape?
Right.
And then at the same time, there's 6 different numbers. What's the next set of numbers? So it's like problem solving.
So it's a lot of physical and mental challenges.
So it's like, it's like pilot testing. You know how they get tested when there's loads of things happening at once, but you just need to make sure you get the right answer, but then also how quickly you work it out. And I scored as high as you can score on that test.
Wow.
Somehow. Because because I was in school in Slough. Like I never thought I was academic. I was very blessed, as in like the way I worked things out. I was very like blessed in that sense.
So like problem solving rather than academic.
So I think I don't know whether that's because I was diagnosed with dyslexia in school, and then a few other stuff leaving school. But like when I was in school, I would find school hard. Right. But when it came to exams and that, it was just like I'd just strip it back and then.
Oh right, wow.
So I don't like my GCSEs. I always say, never copy me if you're listening right now and about to do your GCSEs. But I never revised for any of my GCSEs.
Really?
And the funniest thing was, neither did my best friend, who's also called Harry. And my parents always call us the Harry and Harry show. So because I weren't revising, he weren't, I passed everything. He failed my stuff. So like we finished year 11. I get my maths. I get my English. He's failed his maths. Then he had to go to college and do it again.
Wow.
But anyway, getting back to the story, I always do this. I did my barb testing. I score as high as you can. And then I had my meeting, you know, the officer, you know, you're set up proper, prim and proper, like to hold yourself presentable. And he just said, look, because I was a number then in assessment centre. I can't remember my number, but say I was number 7 or something.
You weren't Harry, you were 7.
No, yeah, I was 7. Because that's why I loved the army so much, because you're all equal. Like no matter where you come from, what you look like, anything, it's just like you're all known as a number because you're no better than anyone else or no worse.
No worse, yeah.
And it was the same when I joined phase 1, which I'll get onto. It was like my hair is my pride and joy. Like I always, every week I get my hair cut and I say to my barber, Jay, is my hair going? Because I can't lose my hair, man.
You say that every week, yeah?
I say it every week, and he's like, you need to chill out, like it'll be fine. But then when you join phase 1, like they shave all your hair off. But yes, then the career advisor that I told you about rang my mum after I had this interview. I'd passed, shake hands, cool. I'm becoming a paratrooper, and that was all that I cared about. And then anyway, because paratroopers basically, they're an infantry unit, but like very specialised. They're very good at what they do. They learn a lot of hand-to-hand combat, which is what I loved as a kid, just like fighting basically and learning how to protect myself and others. Yeah. And then it's what my granddad did. So I was like, basically my granddad was in the free para, and he was 3 times welterweight champion. So I was like, cool. I said, Granddad, watch this. I'm going to go be 4 times.
Wow.
Just to like...
You just want to follow in his footsteps.
Yeah, follow him. Because growing up, his morals and the way he treats my family is exactly what I want for myself. So like each Christmas, he'll sit there and you see him sort of take it in. Then he'll always ding his cup. And all he says is, I'm so grateful and so lucky and so blessed that all I've got is this family who are here again together for Christmas. So then from a young age, you look at him and I think, that's all I want. Do you know what I mean?
That's powerful.
Yeah, and because through him, I feel like I have very old traditions and like an old generation inside of me, if that makes sense. So I just feel like my job here on Earth is to be here, exist, provide for my family, love my family, be nice to people, help anyone who I can, and then die.
Yeah, it's
But
amazing.
to me, that's a full life. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's amazing hearing you talk about that at such a young age. You know what I mean? To have that mindset. And you're talking about your future kids. You don't have kids in a minute, but it's amazing to hear you talk like that. So you're in the paras. Were you doing helicopter and drone?
Yeah. So
what was your specific role then when you passed the exams and you're in the army?
So then I obviously got accepted into that, and then the career advisor rings my mum and goes, look, my best advice is he scored as high as he could on a test. Are you sure you don't want him to get trade first?
Right.
Because basically, a lot of the time, people who go in the infantry, if they get injured or they get medically discharged, they don't really have anything to fall back upon.
Oh, right.
So they'll become, I don't know, depending on what training they've done, sometimes they'll leave and they don't have any qualifications. Right. So my mum, obviously, her ears were like ringing in like light bulb moment. She was like, yeah, of course I want him to get a trade. She was like, what's the hardest one he can do? Like kicked me off the phone, was on the phone because I was like, no, I don't want to do anything else. And she was like, what's the hardest one he can do? They were like, avionics technician, there's 11% pass rate on it. She was like, he'll do that one. Then I didn't speak to her for like 2 weeks because I was fuming. I was
you not happy at the time?
Nah, because I was like, I was so set on being a paratrooper, so I didn't know nothing else. But then now, it's like so true when they say mum's know best, because I couldn't thank her enough. Because if I got medically discharged or if I left the army, like now, say if it doesn't all work out and I need to go back to normal work, as I'd say, I can just go and work on aircrafts in Heathrow, and I could go and work on trains in London, and like what I was going to do anyway.
Because you're skilled in it, because you passed
qualifications, like you get an MVQ, level 3 engineering and aeronautical engineering, and it's just mad, isn't it? So then I couldn't thank her enough. So then that's where my job role came about, which was an avionics technician in the REME, which is the Royal Electrical Mechanical Engineers. So it's basically a corps in the army where you do your soldier training first in your first 2, phase 1, because you're always called soldier first, tradesman always. Right. So you do your soldier training, then you go on to do your trade training, which is your phase 2 training, where I went and did my avionics technician course.
Wow. Yeah. And that's 11% pass rate. So you passed 11%. That, and that's your role that you did prior to.
Yeah, I'm not saying I cheated or anything, but
you did well.
Well, no, I scraped through every exam, paper exam, by like 60%. Yeah, man, we're learning like the theory of flight and that. Yeah. And do you think, to me, it's like, you know, like bees. It was like bees are physically, like mad fact, bees are it's physically impossible for a bee to fly.
What?
Yeah, because its body mass is so much heavier than its wings.
Right.
A bee shouldn't be able to fly.
So how does it fly?
But it does.
How?
I don't know. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
And then they're trying to teach me, a kid from Slough, how a chunk of metal flies through the sky.
Yeah.
And it's just mad. So then to even now think about it, when I was doing some of these exams, I would not pass them right now at all.
Really?
But then as soon as I got onto the practical side of things, it was like, okay, I know what I'm doing now.
So you're in the army, you're doing all of that part specifically. Was there a lot of travelling involved? Because you're still young then. You must have been, 16, 17? Was that quite difficult, moving away from home and the big family network you got?
Yeah, no, it was weird for me because I never looked back because I always knew my family would be there.
Right.
But I thought it'd be a lot harder than it was. Like my little brother's now joined and I know he struggles with that, like being away from home because he likes being at home. Whereas I'm like, I always like doing stuff and then going back home to be like, I just done this, I done that. So at 16, I was sent to North Yorkshire, never left Slough before. And then I was up in North Yorkshire for 6 months to do my first.
How was that?
Phase. Yeah, well, I mean, I got there. The first interaction I had was with a northern lad. And it's quite a funny story, actually, because like I said, I was from Slough, didn't really know much different. And he goes to me, hey up, lad, like, whereabouts you from? And I was like, what has this geezer just said to me? Do you know what I mean? Like, what is this geezer on about?
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, I'm a northerner, what about you? And I was like, what? Like, never heard anyone speak like that before in my life. And I just looked at him and went, oh, I'm a Westerner.
Right.
And he was like, like his head of a Westerner, yeah? So this geezer thinks, obviously now I've realised, because I learned something new every day in the army, he must have thought I was saying I'm from like Egypt or Africa, because that's West, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, but to me, I only ever knew it as North, South, East or West London.
Right.
So when he's told me he's a Northerner, I'm thinking he's North London. He's asked me, I'm like, oh, well, I'm from West London, yeah? And he just looked at me and then just went, well, you're the thickest southerner I've ever met. And then walked off. And I was like, this is going to be an experience. And that was the first experience I had.
That's the first experience you had?
Yeah,
wow, you've never been
16.
outside of Slough. There you are. So was that a challenging 6 months then? If that was your first experience?
Yeah, no, it was fun. Do you know what I mean? Because like,
Gosh.
what was really good was like, I think I was just suited to the army because when I joined, a load of people had done cadets and things like that.
Right,
and, you know, they think they're like the dogs. They think they're the bee's knees. Do you know what I mean? They've done cadets. They know how to run this. They know how to handle a weapon. Me, I'm just there, some kid who's swung on trees and been out throwing sticks and shooting catapults in Slough. Never done anything cadet. But then in training, they gave you like ranks, like little ranks.
Right.
So like, you obviously move up through the ranks. And then I ended up being like a platoon sergeant of my whole sergeant. And at
You rose
16,
quite quickly then?
Yeah, at 16, like this is like just something they give you to like run the platoon. And obviously a 16-year-old trying to handle other 16-year-olds, it was mental.
Yeah.
But it sort of shown, especially it worked really well on like my reports and stuff, because it was like, if you at 16 can do that, you can go places in the army sort of thing. And obviously I had no prior experience to the army like all of the other ones did. So yeah, it was mad. It was an experience again. And 6 months, it was the best 6 months of my life.
Really? Well,
Yeah.
Even now with everything you're going through now, that period was your best 6 months of your life?
Yeah, I feel like because we were just kids.
Yeah.
We were just kids, and some of the stuff that would go on was just mental. Like,
Really?
Yeah, imagine you've got 16-year-olds. I was in a mixed platoon as well. So I never got up to any naughtiness, but some of the boys may have, because obviously we had 2 sections that were boys and 2 sections that were girls.
Yeah.
And for the first 6 weeks, you'd have a corporal that stayed there to make sure it was all good.
Yeah.
But then after them 6 weeks, there was one corporal on duty for the whole camp.
Right.
So that corporal could be across the other side of camp. So it just like was carnage.
Really?
Yeah.
So what sort of... you can't say.
I don't know.
I'll let my imagination
Yeah,
think of
let your
so
imagination
you had a
flow.
good time?
But you had a load of 16-year-olds, boys and girls, just in these like uni accommodations.
Yeah, I got
I was in a 12-man room.
Yeah.
So that was probably the biggest difference. But then again, it was quite easier for me because I shared a room obviously with both my brothers
So
growing
you're
up.
used to it.
So I was used to always sleeping with, not sleeping with someone, but like sleeping,
having someone in the room.
sharing. Yeah,
I get that.
So then as soon as we get there, head shaved off, I could have cried at that. But then we're all the same. We all look the same. And then I go into this room and then there's 11 people. And that's obviously where I met the northern geezer, and he was,
Wow, it's an amazing story, that.
Yeah.
So you said you had a great time, great 6 months. Obviously, I know people who've been in the army and have been in the forces. You obviously have some pretty horrific experiences as well. What was the sort of the toughest part of that, or the worst things that you witnessed? Because I imagine it comes to territory in that job, sadly, you would have seen some pretty horrific stuff
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's good and bad for everything. The thing is with the army, it's like a massive wave. It's like in the army, you hit the highest of highs, but then that means you have the lowest of lows. Like I remember some days. So it normally only really, it got bad more when like I saw some stuff when I was like growing up, if that makes sense.
Right.
So at 16, it was just more like we were still kids. There was people leaving. That was probably the worst. But then when I turned 17 and I finished my 6 months in Harrogate, I get sent down to Swindon to do my phase 2 training.
Yeah.
Whereas where I was there for 18 months learning about helicopters and doing my trade. But then you think people across the army can transfer.
Yeah.
So I had people who were 32 that I was sharing a room with at 17 years old. So like I was a boy in a man's world. And like it was typical things like where you had to stand your ground. So like the first thing that happened to me, I'm actually really close friends with this guy now as well. I was like 17, he was like 26, I think it was. Came into my room, took our pillows, took our quilts and stuff. And then we were just going to sleep on like the mattress to see what we was about. And I was like, mate, if you don't give me that back, you're gonna get smacked in a minute.
Was that a big part of it? Then you had to show.
And then it was like, then he just gave me my stuff back. I was like, fair enough.
Really?
Then you move on, and then it's like I learned, but you learn your boundaries as well. Like I wasn't a 17-year-old. I had to grow up quick, and I realised that with my mates back at home. It's still now. I'm 23. My best mate Harry, like I said, Harry and Harry show. He's more mature than me in some ways. But he's the most immature, like my mates are the most immature people I've ever met. Yeah, compared to me, I know how to switch it on and off because of being in the army at 17.
Yeah.
When I'm sharing a room at 17 years old with a 22-year-old and a 32-year-old, they don't need a whinging 17-year-old who's moaning about stuff. You grow up quick, and then you realise they got problems going on. And then just like the worst thing I would have saw, obviously, growing up and being in there for 6 years was just because we never actually saw war as such, you expect, because we're not at war. Like we saw certain stuff that was experiences, but it was more the saddest thing that I experienced was people doing stuff to themselves, if that makes sense.
Oh, harming themselves.
Yeah, not even that, just basically like I lost a few friends just on camp because they just couldn't deal with life anymore. And then it's like the saddest thing when someone who's your like brother just does something like that, and then they're just, you never see them again. And someone
taking their own lives.
Yeah, wow. That was the hardest thing with the army, I think. But that's, I mean, again, it's the same with every job, isn't it? And certain like everyday life.
Yeah. How do you? Obviously, that sounds horrific to experience when you have people that you care for that have taken their own lives. Did you have counselling after that? How did you mentally deal with that yourself? Because you're such a young age when you're experiencing that.
I think my mentality comes from, I've spoke about this openly, to be fair. I had them same sort of battles when I was like 21.
Did you?
Yeah, so when I was like, so I was 20 and then like, I'm not even going to get into it, but like I just fell into a deep dark hole because I was in a past relationship. That went to pot. Then I was like jumped and lost my teeth, cracked my skull, couldn't box again. Then I felt like, then it was just like everything was leading on from one thing to another and another. Then I just started... Then I put myself in that hole. So it was like I started drinking then, smoking then. And then I lost like I was about to lose my granny, who was like going into a surgery with 20% survival rate. Luckily, she's still here with us now, which shows how strong she is, the Irish blood in her. But then it was just like one thing led to another and another and another. And then I did get that low where it was like, I don't know how I'm going to escape this. And then it was on the 8th of December, 2021, which is my 21st birthday. The last day I cried. And I remember that day so clearly. And then I just had a switch in me because something had happened during that day where I just switched like that. And it was like, okay, I'm in this hole now because of me. The only person that's going to get me out of this hole is myself. Wow. So it's like, no one's going to chuck me a ladder. It's just like I've got to build one to get out of it, And I feel like that's a big thing that I love working through in the industry now, is helping people with that mental health sort of background too, because I help people in the army. Like a few of my mates, like, it's mad to think now because they can still message me now, and a few of them have left. But one of them, like, I'd be playing PlayStation and would just come and knock on my door and be like, "Oh, Clarky, like I was about to do it then," and stuff like that. Wow. And I think, mate, knock him on the back of the head, like, don't be such an idiot. Lay on my bed. Get a can of bit, do you know what I mean? And just chat. Like, not sometimes they wouldn't even chat to me. I'll just carry on playing COD or FIFA.
Yeah.
They'd just lay on my bed just to know like someone's there.
Yeah.
And it was, I think once I dealt with my problems, then I could start helping out other people.
That's powerful.
And that's why I like helping people now. Like when people message me, because I feel like it's hard nowadays, because when you open up, the hardest thing about it is it's scary to open up. Because I would say now, if you went to therapy or if you ask for help from professionals, not saying every professional does it, but it's like, well, you've got this wrong with you, you've got this wrong with you, you need these pills or you need that. And then that puts so much more stress on people. Like sometimes, for me, it was just the only person that was going to get out of it was me. Like everyone deals with it so differently. And as long as they know that they're there, like I was very happy in myself, getting myself out of it, but knowing my mates were still around me, knowing I had loved ones to talk to, which is what I tried doing for my mates. And then that's when they realised, okay, maybe I'm not stressing as much, or maybe I'm not as lost where I need to go and talk to people. They just need to know that someone's there for them. And it makes a massive difference.
So were you at a stage then when, because it's incredible hearing how you turned that around. I didn't even know that part of your story, to be fair, and credit for you for helping others. But were you at a stage where you were contemplating taking your own life then?
Well, it wasn't. The hardest thing with me is like I've always had so many demons. Like growing up, I've just always been like I've never known where I fitted in, because loads of stuff has happened to me, just personally. So it was like, I don't know if I had them thoughts, but I never would have went through with it because of how much I love my family. Yeah. And that was the thing that basically saves me, which is why I say I owe my life to my family and now my missus and things like that. Because if I didn't have the love there from them and I felt like I had no one there, which some of my mates felt like, then it's like, well, no one's really going to care. And that's how I feel that's how a lot of people think and feel in that certain time. But it's hard because once you're in that position, people just say, oh, why don't you just do that? Why don't you do that? You don't understand the sort of pain and the cloudiness. Yeah, you don't understand like how lost you can get in thoughts.
So how did you, I think what's important is for anyone who is listening to this who might be struggling with similar thoughts, how did you turn it around, and what advice would you have for people who might be going through something similar?
Yeah, so mine was like I said, mine was weird. Mine was a lot different from a lot of other people. I was very lucky that it happened to me at such an early age, 21 years old, because I just had a click. One day I had a click, and it was like, it wasn't, I'm obviously nowhere near, it was like Ryan Goggins, who does like Who's Going to Carry the Bolts in America. But he just had that switch.
Vaguely.
He talks about it all the time, and like, for me, it was the same. I just had a switch.
It's a light bulb moment.
Yeah, it was just like a light bulb. It was like I was in a corner crying, in like, say, imagine this, like Inside Out, where they're in your head. I was in like a corner crying on my hands and knees. And then suddenly a light bulb just turned on. It was like, what am I doing? And then that's when I got so lucky, because of how it happened to me. I questioned everything. So it was like, why am I living just for the Fridays? Like I need to value life so much every day. Life's so precious. And then now that's what I put into my work. I just treat every day like a Friday, or every day like it's my last, because you don't understand how easily it can be taken away until you see that happen. And then also when I got lost, like it was just me beats me. And that's what my whole life's been. Like there's never been, and it's hard because I'm still hard on myself now. Like I've still not patted myself on the back really for anything yet.
Really?
Because I just don't feel like I'm at the level yet where I want to be.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's like, I'm definitely my own worst enemy, but like me taking on other people's problems helps me with mine.
Yeah, I know what you mean by that. Yeah.
But then I might be like, Anna, who's my girlfriend, always tells me maybe you should talk to someone. Maybe I just don't want to, because I feel like it's me beats me.
I think that's an important point as well. Like, everyone has to do what's right for them.
Yeah,
You can't generalise. And I've had mental health issues myself. I'm very vocal about them. But you've got to do what's right for you. I think that's a really good point. It's interesting you said you don't pat yourself on the back, because we're going to get on to why you should be patting yourself on the back, because you obviously won the Traitors, which was a massive series. Millions of people watching it. I was glued to it. You absolutely smashed it in that, as you know. I've told you many times. But let's get back to how that came about, because it sounds like that period of your life, you've gone through a hell of a lot, some amazing highs and some really big lows as well, which you navigated through. Yeah. You're in the army. How does it come about?
Yeah, so, mate, it's the maddest story ever, because in life, I've got so lucky as well. Like I've said, the luckiest thing with me is my family and the loved ones around me, which is why I owe them everything. Yeah. And so I got lucky and blessed with that, because a lot of people in the army are in the army because they have no one like that at home. Right. So their family is the army. Yeah, okay. So then it's like, that's probably been the hardest thing of me leaving, because I'm not as close to them now, but they will still know I'm still here for them no matter what, even though I'm so busy or whatever, because their family is the army, and they become like that's their only thing. Whereas I had the Jekyll and Hyde life, where I had the brothership in the army, but I also could go home and be Harry with my
stable family environment at home.
Yeah. But then it just got too much, as in like I just had enough. I had enough of the army. Like, not to be cringe or anything, but I'd come out on the other side. Then I met Anna, and I'm a lover man, like Shubba, proper lover man, Mr. Lover man,
like Shabba.
Mr. Lover, yeah.
I did not expect that answer to the question.
I'm Mr. Lover, yeah.
Fair play.
So then when I met her, obviously it's like I said, I want to start my own family. I wanted to move back home. I was away Monday to Friday all the time. And you just miss birthdays. I couldn't even go and play five-a-side with my mates. Do you know what I mean?
You missed that.
That's all I've wanted to do. Like, it's Thursday night. Boys, let's go for a kickabout.
Right?
Yeah. But because I was never there, it was just the weekends. And then also I had to fit in everything in a Friday night, a Saturday, and then Sunday morning.
Right.
Because I'd come home Friday afternoon, then I had a Saturday, then I'd have to go back Sunday evening. So it's like in a day,
you got to see family, your girlfriend,
your mates. I got to see family,
mates,
my girlfriend's mates. Then I was in Brighton, then in London, see our brothers. Like, it was all over the shop, and it would go so quick. So then, like I said, I started living for the weekend. I was like, oh, when's it Friday? It's just turned Monday. Oh, I hate Mondays. Then it's like, oh, it's only Tuesday. Then it's Wednesday. Wednesday, what a pointless day. Then a Thursday. Okay, at least it's one more day to a Friday. Then that's how I lived. And then I was just like, I need something more. Then anyway, I remember I had Croatia Festival booked, right? And this was like, this was last year. It's not even been a year, which is mental.
It's crazy, isn't it?
So I had Croatia Festival booked with a load of army mates. We had rented out a villa. And then, like I said, I wanted to sign off from the army. And I remember I was going to do it. And then an officer came to me and was like, oh, Clarky, can you go on the supervisor course for us early? And I was like, nah, sir, I don't know about it. He was like, what do you mean? I was like, because then it means I'm going to have to stay in another year. And then luckily I did do it. Otherwise I wouldn't have been, like the traitors wouldn't have come around. It's really weird. Right. So then I went and did my supervisor course. And while I was on my supervisor course, I literally got a random message out of the blue on my Instagram. I was private on everything. And it was from a caster from the show. And
saying what? We'd like to...
Yeah. It was like, hi, I'm a caster from a show called The Traitors. We've done series 1. And I remember I just went, no thanks, scam. I just thought it was a scam.
You thought it wasn't real?
Thought it wasn't real. Did not believe it at all. And then obviously she's replied, no, I'm a real person, something like that. And I was like, that's what every scammer would say.
Isn't
like,
it?
What an obvious
Give me your bank
answer.
details.
Give me your bank detail. I was just like laying there like, look, I'm not in the mood for this. I've probably got about 100 quid left in my bank. I don't need an iPhone 13.
Yeah.
I know I've won 6 already, but like, I'm all right. Do you know what I mean? and then she was like, put her email address and her number.
Yeah.
And I sent it to Anna, and Anna was like, she wouldn't have done that if she was a scammer.
No, that's true.
So I'm laying in my bed and I'm just like, oh man, I need to do something in my life. Do you know what I mean? And I'm laying there, I'm like, why not just ring it, you know, after work? So this is where, again, I'm back on my supervisor course, and I thought, I'll just give this a bell. Do you know what I mean? See what happens. Rang it, and then it was like a standoff. I was like, whoever speaks first loses, because I'm still thinking it's a scammer. Not realising that she's being called by a random number because I haven't given her mine. so she's also a standoff. And she was like, hello. And I was like, oh my God, you're a real person. And she was like, yeah, I told you. Like, is this Harry? And then we spoke for hours. Like, and she explained the game. And I was like, this game sounds so sick. And I was like, yeah, it's good, but I don't know if it's going to work or blah, blah, blah. And she was like, you can win up to 120 grand. I'm like, I'm in. I was like, where do I sign up? I was like, I'm in. And she said, like, we spoke about it because we was together on the final day. And she had said how she remembers. I think she clipped it. I'm not too sure when we did a Zoom call. But she said she remembered how I said to her, I was like, because she had the winners of season 1 too. She had casted 2 of the winners in season 1.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so then I said to her when she was casting me, I was like, I'm going to be a traitor, go in there, and I'm going to win it all for myself, by the way. You're going to have 2 in a row. And she was like, yeah, of course you will. And she said, in the final, when she said that to me, she was like, this guy hasn't got a Scooby, what's about to happen?
Wow.
She didn't believe me at all.
Yeah.
And then she was like, at the final, she was like, you can actually do it. And I was like, yeah, I know, it's mad, isn't it? So then that was in July last year. And then I was bloody there in August.
Wow.
Which was mad for me.
So that process was as soon as you got off the phone with her, there wasn't like then an interview process?
Yeah, there was all of that. But it was just like one after the other.
Right.
So that was what was mad to me because, so that was June, July time. Some of the guys when I went to the castle had applied the November before.
Right.
So it must have been like a few spots left where they just filled them somehow.
So you got one of the last spots.
So
to be on
lucky.
the Traitors.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then, because you think there was like 40,000 who applied as well. So I didn't even initially really apply.
Yeah.
I got this message saying you might do well on this, or you look good for this. And then after I said, I'm going to go on and win it all, she was like, well, you got to apply first.
Yeah.
So then that's when I did my application video, sent that off. Then the next day it was, can you meet this producer, Zoom this person, Zoom that person. And then I just had a laugh with all of them. I was like, this sounds amazing.
Yeah.
And then a week went by, and then I was booking actually Amsterdam for Anna's brother's show.
Right.
And we was all going to go there as a family. So I was like, I kind of need to know if I'm going to this castle in Scotland to murder everyone or not. And then she was like, we'll get back to you. And then, I was at lunch with Anna and one of her friends. They rang me and was like, you've got a train booked next weekend or next week to go up to Inverness to play the Traitors.
It's a very quick process. When you found out you were going in it, be honest, did you think you could go in and win the show, or was that just an act to get in the show?
Well, to be fair, it's like, it's both, definitely, there's two sides of the story. So one was, I'm always confident. I feel like you always have to be confident in everything you do. Like, I'm not going to go there if I don't think I'm going to win it.
Yeah, fair.
Because what's the point in turning up? But at the same time, we was getting compensation pay, £110 a day. So I was like, cushy, I take a week off the army, I'm getting paid. If I last 5 days, I get 500 quid. I come home, I can take Anna out for a nice dinner. We can have a nice night out. Do you know what I mean?
Days.
So I was like, the longer I last, every day I woke up, I was like, 110 quid. And
Really?
that was it.
Your mindset,
yeah, that was my mindset.
Did you have a game plan when you went in?
Nah, so they advised a lot to watch Series 1. But to be honest with you, it's mad. When I started Series 1, I just saw, like, I'm not a TV guy at all. I don't really watch TV
you're YouTube,
much.
aren't you, really?
I'm a YouTube, Netflix and chill kind of guy.
Yeah,
I like something to end. Do you know what I mean? Like, I put a Netflix movie on and I know it's going to finish so I can go to sleep.
Yeah.
With series, it's like if I put one episode on, I have to sit there and watch the whole thing.
I get that.
And then I put the first one on and everyone was crying and I was like, nah, this ain't for me.
Really?
And then also, in my head, I was very much like, what's going to give me the best opportunity to win this game? And it was to not expect anything.
Right.
To go there and just be myself.
Don't try and be something you're not.
Yeah, so I feel like that's where quite a few people went wrong. They watched Series 1 like 4 times in there and then were like expecting things to happen. So then when you're expecting something to happen and it happens a completely different way or something else happens, you're so stuck in the mud because you're so set on what to do in that situation.
Overthinking it in a way.
Yeah.
The danger in overthinking it, right?
Yeah. So, like, for example, Brian, I know he wouldn't mind me saying, he was a massive fan of Series 1. So he told me all about it, the missions they did, how cool this experience was going to be. And then you saw, as soon as someone said he was a traitor, it was like, his mind was blown.
A bit, yeah.
Whereas with me, it was like, just go with the flow.
Yeah.
Like, what will be, will be.
He was
and just
overthinking it too much.
Yeah, so you give yourself the best opportunity to just go there and give it a good crack and then see what happens.
Yeah, it worked out all right, didn't it? I mean,
it worked out all right.
Done all right. What happened when the first time you met Claudia Winkleman? Did you...
Oh, mate, I was shivering in my boots. I was shaking in my boots. Honestly, I was like, nah, I'll be fine. You know what I mean? I'll try to charm her.
Big army lad.
Yeah, big army lad.
Hi, Claudia.
So literally, I was like squeaking and stuff. My legs shaking in my boots. I was sweating. And I think that was because I wanted to be a traitor so bad.
Right.
I didn't want her to choose anyone else.
Right.
And then, which is quite funny because upon leaving the show, you realise everyone wants to be a traitor.
Yeah.
As much as they like moan, or some of them, not saying anyone moan, but as much as them they say, I can't believe you've done that. I can't believe you've done this.
They all want to be a traitor.
Everyone wants to be a traitor. Like everyone wants to be a traitor because it's the best role. It's like, and it's fun because you get a chance to be naughty and get away with it, which is what I love. So then when I meet her, I'm there like, normally I'm chilled out like this. Yeah. I was there like, hi Claudia, can you just choose me please? And then she was just like, because she was so powerful and like into the game.
Yeah.
She basically made me crap my pants. Do you know what I mean? Like I was like, oh my God, this is serious.
Because that's part of the recruit. She's involved in the recruitment process. Just for those who don't know.
But she bases it. Yeah. So she has an interview of you initially, and then she bases her opinion off who would be good traitors on that.
So you obviously done something right.
So that's what I mean. So then when I left, I was devastated. I was like, I've messed up.
You've blown it.
You know when you black out and I'm like, I can't remember anything we spoke about.
Really?
I remember my mouth being dry because you think I've never been in front of a camera before as well.
Okay, fair enough.
So the first episode, there's like 3 cameramen with like this and I'm like, mate, what is going on? You know, you feel awkward. Then straight away after that, you get to the castle for the first time, see this amazing thing. You're in this experience. You don't really know what's going on. Then you're put into a dark, dungy room with 120 grand on the table and she's asking you why you'd be a good traitor. And I was just like, remember like my mouth being so dry. I was like, she's not going to choose me because my breath stinks. Like, it's just like, it's all going wrong. And then anyway, so I left that devastated. And then obviously that's when we moved on to the round table and we sat there blindfolded for ages as well.
Are you? How long is that?
I don't even know. I couldn't even remember now, but it felt like hours on end.
And that's the scene that we see when she picks the traitors. So when she touches you on the shoulder, you shocked at that point?
When, you know what was weird? When I was going in there, I was like, oh, I want to be a traitor so bad. But in that moment, because they walked around for so long and you heard so many footsteps as well, I feel like it was played really well because you couldn't tell where she was. Because you could just hear other stuff going on, like rattling things. Because otherwise you could try and focus on where she's walking, then stopping, then walking, stopping. Because if she just stopped behind me, the people next to me know she would have stopped.
Yes,
they've got to touch me. So like the production was just amazing, as in like it was run like a military operation.
You couldn't tell. You genuinely
couldn't tell.
No.
I couldn't tell. And I tried cheating. You know, heads down, thumbs up.
Go on.
You ever played heads down, thumbs up in school?
What's that? Remind
Where
me.
you like put your head on the table and you got to put your thumbs up like this. Someone walks around and if they tap your thumbs down, you get to stand up and guess who put your thumbs down.
No, I don't think I have.
So we used to play that in school.
Yeah.
But I'd put my head at the end of the table so I could see the people's shoes.
Right, got you.
So if they pressed my thing, I'd stand up, look at their shoes. I'd be like, yeah, it was you.
Wow.
And then I would always win at heads down, thumbs up. So I tried doing the same thing and lifting my blindfold up. Mate, there was no chance.
Really?
They like double knotted that. It was like blacked out.
Yeah.
And then you're trying to listen. But because it happens for so long, it builds so much pressure.
Yeah, I bet.
So when I was sat there, I was like, please don't choose me, which is really weird because I wanted to be a traitor so bad. But when it was so much pressure, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to handle this, you know. If she chooses me now, I think I'm going to take this blindfold off and start crying or laughing. And someone's going to say it's you and I'm going to be like, what the hell? Do you know what I mean? Like, how do you know? So then she's walking around. I'm like, don't choose me. And then she does. And I lick my lips because my mouth was so dry. I don't even remember doing that. But apparently it was a thing. I can't believe it. I went like that. I was like, oh my God, I watched it back. So cringe. I also find myself so cringe, by the way.
Do you?
Yeah, I can't watch myself back.
Really?
Such
a lot of
an
people
ick.
say that.
Walking, talking ick.
Really?
Yeah. I hate the sound of my own voice.
Do you?
Yeah.
Why is that, do you think?
I don't know. I can't even send a voice note on WhatsApp and listen to it back.
Do you not?
When I do a video on Instagram, it's a one take thing. Like if I do a video, I'm never Xing it and doing it again because...
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Or watching it back.
So you haven't watched the Traitors back? You've only
I watched the Traitors back, but like when I'd come up, I'd just cringe. But it was to see how it was being portrayed.
Right, yeah. And
I was really worried while you're there. I was scared. I can't lie. Because like I said, so then she chose me.
Yeah.
And it was weird because I was relieved. I was like, okay, now I know what I need to do.
That first bit must be hard when the blindfolds come off and you know you're a traitor.
Yeah, and obviously Diane stuck it on me straight away.
Yeah.
So then I was like, cheat. I was like, you just cheated like I tried to do. But then she was obviously completely wrong. But she wasn't, which is mad.
Yeah, it's a lot of psychology involved,
it's because Zach in there, he wouldn't mind me saying, was really panicking. But I was next to Diane and she thought it was me. So she thought I was the one panicking, which to her made me get chosen. But then Zach said, no, that was me. He had like a little panic attack and stuff because you're there. So you don't understand the pressure. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
So how much of it is real then and how much of it is scripted? Because you were saying there how long the process is. Go on, tell us about what goes on behind the cameras, like what we wouldn't know about.
None of it's scripted. So like,
so it is all real what we see.
All real, yeah. And it's like what you get on camera is what you see on TV. Yeah. Obviously, it's edited in ways to put certain conversations. Yeah, and also they're going to miss certain conversations as well. You know, that happened like the ones with me and Diane when she thought it was me and then I switched it on her to say, well, I think it's you for pinning it on me straight away. Yeah. And then she was a bit like, holy crap, like, okay, sorry. But they miss conversation. But then again, you got to think there's 22 of us speaking for 10 plus hours a day. They can't put everything in.
What's the round table like? How long does that, that's the best bit for me. Yeah. The most enjoyable bit. How long does that go on for? And are you told, do you get in there and the director goes, right, cut or rolling, Harry to speak first or something? Like what actually happens?
None of that. So like you're all put in a room. So like you're all talking. Yeah. Then you're told like the bells go or something like that. And that's when you know it's time to go into the round table.
Oh, right.
So then you go into this room, you're silent and you're just waiting to go in there. You go in there in a queue. You know where you're sitting because you sit in the same seat every time. You go sit behind your seat. And then again, no producers, nothing like that. You're just like, you're so indulged in this game. It's like a bubble. It's mental. Yeah. it's so mental. Like watching it back, it's like, it's so hard to explain. Like, I wish I had that feeling and can give it to you, and then you'd understand what it's like, because you then sit here, Claudia walks in. Well, before Claudia even walks in, they play Hanging Tree, you know, from the Hunger Games.
Oh, the music track,
Are you coming to the tree?
Yeah.
You know that one?
They play that track.
They play that like hella loud.
Why? Just for the drama?
To set, I don't know, it sets the mood.
Wow.
Like when that tune goes off, everyone's like, cool, I know what I need to do.
Yeah.
And I know who I'm going for.
Yeah.
And Claudia will walk in and then we'll say her bit, like,
yeah.
depending on what day it is, you've lost this many faithfuls, you need to get a traitor, or you need to get a traitor tonight. And then everyone's like rolled up. Yeah. And then she would go, who would like to start? And then that's when it just
that
goes.
moment there, which I imagine could take hours, the round table sometimes takes hours to film.
Yeah, yeah.
There's no like, who would like to go first? Then all of that is just off the cuff.
Off the cuff, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. People, that's why you get arguments, because people will butt in, people will defend themselves, people won't defend themselves.
Yeah.
So like the best thing and the maddest thing I found with the round table is like the best thing to say, it's like, imagine there's 22 of us.
Yeah.
Everyone deserves 10 minutes to talk at least.
Yeah.
Or 5 minutes each. If it's 10 minutes each, that's 220 minutes we're sat there for.
Yeah, that's what you mean, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So that's over, what, 2 hours, my maths, 3 hours?
Forget the maths about it.
Forget
it's
about
a lot of time.
Yeah, it's a lot of time. It's a lot of time. So then you think the round table, which sometimes it wouldn't capture on TV, but the round table could start with someone completely different that you don't even know is being voted. So like, I don't know, say the round table starts and say Jazz goes for Ross or whatever.
Yeah.
But then by the end of it, it could be on someone like Miles.
Else.
Like, because it can switch just like that, because someone can be getting it. So like, so say you said it was me, you'd be giving me stuff. I'll be like, no, it's not me defending myself against you. Then someone could jump in with you and be like, actually, yeah, I agree, mate.
Yeah,
you done this. And then I got to defend myself against that. Or that person will be like, actually, though, I've had a thought about so-and-so. And then the whole attention just switches.
Yeah.
But that's the best for the traitors. Because like Paul will tell you, once we're sat there, when there's that much confusion, like there were some round tables where there was one person who thought it was someone different each time. So let's say there was, I can't remember which one it was, but there was like 14 of us left.
Yeah.
And say 10 of the people thought it was each different person, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So like one person thought it was the other person. One person thought it was the other. There was no standout vote. And that's like the best thing for traitors, because it's mayhem.
Yeah.
And then you sort of can guide it to be like, okay, well, you either take the whole notion of, I don't know what I'm doing, I haven't got a choice in anyone, so I'm just going with the team, so then you look good, or it's you want to get rid of someone, so then you just pin that final vote on them, then they're gone.
Yeah. Well, how does it work when, obviously, you're a traitor from day one, when they take you to the tower bit?
Yeah.
And how do the faithfuls not know who the traitors are? Because I presume don't the traitors stay out later?
Yeah.
So you would have been working longer than everyone, presumably.
Yeah.
Hours-wise, because you've got a... Are they in bed when you go to the tower?
Yeah, they're in bed, yeah.
So they get more sleep than you do?
Yeah, but it's...
And how do they know it's not you?
Because you got to act just as tired as everyone, but not any more tired.
But I mean, how does that work when they take you to the tower without people knowing?
So that's a good question, to be fair. So once we're there at the evening, we just got told the first night what would happen, and basically you're taken out individually, completely random.
Wow.
So your name will be called after the gongs go off, you all leave the castle. Then your names individually, you'll be taken random order. You get an individual motor and you just disappear into the magic of the show individually. And it's run so well in a military operation. It's crazy, because when you're sitting there watching it, I used to think, like, when I watched the first episode, I was like, oh, mate, the cameras turn off. You all go for a beer. Yeah. And like the producers will choose who they want to win. Yeah. It's nothing like that.
Really?
Like the game finishes, or the night finishes, you're taken individually one by one. But then as a traitor, you sort of sneak off. Yeah. You do the same sort of routine, but you slip off into the side and go up the turret and wait for your traitor mates. Wow. And then, everyone else disappears.
Pretty special, that. So it is done well. There's nothing that's
and it's the same in the morning. Like it's completely random orders in the morning to breakfast. Wow. Like there's nothing, honestly, I promise you now, like there's nothing production-wise that you can try and catch them out on to find out who the traitors are. Like it just doesn't work. There's nothing you can do because the orders are random. Yeah. You can't go and look for other people where you're
they've
staying.
Been picked up twice first in a row. There's nothing like that.
Nothing like that, no.
Wow. One of the things I wanted to ask you is, in there, did you make genuine mates in there, or was it all just playing a game? Like, did you think the more I can get them on sides. The easiest
It's a weird
to win.
one. Like, have you ever heard of cabin fever?
Yeah.
That definitely happened in the castle. Like, it felt like we were there for a year. Like the long days, how close you get with each other. And the thing was like...
And you have no phones, right, at any point?
No phones. So there's no escape, no talk to home. So you think these people are like the most important people to you in your life, and you don't realise you've only known them for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But like me and Paul sometimes would talk about the deepest stuff that like not even some of my friends know. Do you know what I mean?
So that wouldn't be aired, for instance.
So that wouldn't be aired. No, it would be like it was just like the biggest bonding times we had.
Yeah.
So like for him, of course I made genuine friends. I mean Paul obviously especially. We work together now. Big up the Harry and Paul pod.
You've got your own podcast, right?
Yeah. We talk about murders and crimes and how we would deceive people and then get away with crimes. And it's like it's one of them things, because I always say, you know, when you're laying in bed at night, I always lay there and think, oh, I'd love to rob a bank, or like, I would love to. Yeah, do you not?
No,
is that just not
to rob a bank.
That's not a normal thing. No, I just lay there.
To play for England in a cup final. If I get that, I'll get those thoughts. I don't think that's gonna happen either, though.
So like, you've never had the one of like, oh, if there's a zombie apocalypse, I wonder what I'd do.
No, I haven't actually. No.
Wow, that's like the first person that said that.
Sorry, I know what you mean. Like, I wonder what it'd be like to fly or things like that. Yeah, I get thoughts like that. Yeah, I think that's natural.
Yeah,
but that's very specific. The examples you were holding on. But I get where you're coming from. Yeah,
but that's basically what we talk about. We talk about crimes that have gone wrong and how me and Paul would get away with it.
So he's obviously a good mate of yours.
Yeah,
Molly's another one that you were good mates with,
yeah.
right? What did Molly say to you afterwards? So when she found out you were a traitor, you took all that money, because that was quite a brutal scene, wasn't it? I mean, fair play to you. You played the game brilliantly.
Yeah, I think at the end of it, she was amazing, because I said to production, I was like, because again, it's the cabin fever, and you do genuinely feel bad, because it's like,
did you?
People have got
bad?
Of course, like you've just taken 47 grand from an innocent person, you know, who wants it. But
that is the game. That's not your fault.
But it's the game.
You played the game brilliantly.
And I felt 10 times better when I got home and I realised this is what I'd done it, my family again. Because then I was reminded, and I always say this, when I first got there, every 3 or 4 days I was like, I'm here because of this. I'm here because my family at home have loved me for 22 years unconditionally. Anna's loved me for 2. I've known these guys for a week. Yeah. So like, what do I owe them any more than I owe my family? Yeah, but then when it got towards the end, I was reminding myself that every hour or so,
get you through,
because it gets hard, because it's like 4 weeks, no contact to family. Yeah, you don't know what they're doing. You don't know that you sort of, it clouds your judgment as to why I'm actually here. So you have to just keep reminding yourself. And then after the game, obviously Claudia Winkleman's amazing. She told me, you did exactly what you needed to do in the game. Like no one's done it before. Across the world, you know, being a traitor from the start all the way through to the end. That's
insane.
Then taking it for themselves, because it's so hard to do. Yeah. Because the long days, the lying, like constantly for 4.5 weeks, you're just lying
filming
constantly.
All the time. You must filming be knackered all the time, by the end of
knackered, like, and that's why you see people deteriorate. You know, like Paul. You ask Paul now. He said he feels like I'd done him a favour, because he was struggling so much, missing home, missing his 1-year-old boy that he's just had. Yeah. He missed his own birthday at home, you know, like it takes a lot out of you. And then especially being up and just always think, like as a traitor, you're always thinking, because you say one wrong thing, someone can pin it on you.
Yeah, mentally so must be draining.
Yeah, it's always, it's the hardest thing. But then that's what Claudia said to me. And she was like, you should not feel bad at all. Like you played the game, you were a traitor, which is what your job was. Yeah. And you was a good enough traitor to win it all.
Yeah, amazing.
And then I saw her, and then she was like, look, I love you and hate you at the same time, but no one deserves that to win that more than you.
Molly said that to you?
Yeah. No one deserves it to win. Like, no one deserves to win that more than you. Yeah. If I could have done the same thing, I would have.
In terms of the game, mate, I think everyone can admit you absolutely smashed it to be a traitor from day one. And to win it, remind me how much you won?
93 grand.
93. I love the fact you definitely know. You looked around the other, forgotten.
I don't know whether it was 96 or 93. Because I always get one. I think or 95. It was 95. Was it 95?
You tell me.
I don't know. It's so bad.
It's a lot of money. When did you find out? How long? When did it land?
Oh, it landed a week after the final. I had to keep my mouth shut for so long.
So how hard is that then? You weren't allowed to tell anyone you won the Traitors coming out. So what's the period from filming to it going to air?
Yeah, so we finished filming September. So I was back in work September the 10th, something like that. So I was back at work. No one knew really where I'd gone.
No one knew that you won? You're not allowed to tell anyone?
Nah. I just went into my office because my officer, they signed NDAs along with me.
Wow.
because my officers, they had to know where I was going, because I couldn't just take 4 weeks off and then a couple months later they see my face on screen.
Right.
Like I had to go through a lot of procedures with the army and the army media, because obviously I'm not just representing myself and my values. I'm representing the army, an organisation that is based off of being truthful, faithful, loyal, and I just
not a traitor,
not a traitor, basically. So for them, they was obviously quite worried, and they allowed me to do it in my private life, which I appreciate, because getting that opportunity is crazy, and you wouldn't think the army would let you do that. A lot of people have said that. How did you do that while you was in the army? And the fact that they let me do that now, like, look at my life now, and I wouldn't be here. So that's why I always feel like I've owe the army something too.
So you won 90-something thousand pound. We've established it lands a week later. You've got to be quiet for months. You do all that. You're signing the contract. Your life changed. Just give us an insight into how your life has changed post the Traitors.
Yeah, I mean, it's just happiness. So like the first, when the money landed, I was in a back for Uber on the way to this morning, to film this morning, and I'm there with Susan, who was like a PR rep for the Traitors.
Yeah.
And my dad's messaging me, and he just goes, because he's obviously got my bank account, so I don't spend all my money. So he just messaged me and was like, "Nice digits, Kush," because he calls me Kush as a like nickname. Nice Harry digits. Krishna.
Yeah.
So he calls me Kush, and then he was like, "Nice digits, mate." And I went, "What's this geezer going on about?" Do you know what I mean? Aired my dad, because I was on my phone anyway.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Mate, look at your bank account right now. Open up online banking," and it had just been transferred, like an Apple transfer. One lump sum in my bank. And I just went, "Mate, I'm running to Thailand and going to live on a beach somewhere." And then, then I ended up going on this morning, and I was just like, it's the weirdest feeling ever, because you just don't know what to do with yourself. It doesn't feel real. Yeah. So it's like hard. It doesn't process. It still hasn't processed now.
Hasn't it?
Well, it has now, I guess, because it's not in my bank account anymore.
What have you spent the money on then? What have you done with it?
So I literally done nothing, pretty much. I mean, if it was down to me, I would have taken it to casino, put it all on red.
Yeah,
but
which is not a good idea.
Not a good idea. Don't follow me. But like I said, money, like I'm so grateful. Again, money makes everyone happy, doesn't it? But for me, like I've said, I could live under a bridge tomorrow, have nothing, but at least if I had my family and my loved ones, my other half, as long as they was under that bridge with me, I'd be just as happy.
Yeah, it's not the be all and end all. You're right. It's not all about money.
Yeah. So then, when it came to the money, my dad's 50th came around, and I actually signed with my manager on Valentine's Day, which is my dad's birthday. So for his 50th birthday, we spent it up in Soho signing my contract.
Did you?
That was
Mr. Loverman, like you said earlier.
Mr. Loverman, yeah. So we signed it on that day, and then for my dad's 50th, I just sent him a bunch of money to pay off my mum and dad's personal loans.
Wow, so you've used the money to pay off your parents' debt?
Yeah.
Wow, fair play.
Yeah, and then the rest I gave to my dad, who's put it across banks for me. Right. And then now I just work like a donkey as much as I can to then treat them even more. So like the other day, I've just gone on holiday with Anna for her birthday. And then the other day, my family really wanted a holiday. My mum and dad haven't been away, all my brothers and sisters, since 2010. Okay. Haven't been abroad. So I was 9 years old. 10 years old the last time we went abroad. And then I've just paid for a full family holiday to Portugal now.
You must be buzzing with that.
And we go in like 17 days. And it's like being allowed to do them things is why I do it. And like that's the best feeling about it.
I bet. That's powerful, that. I love that. And of course, when you came out, everyone wanted a piece of you, right? You met with something like 15 agents, am I right in thinking?
Yeah, 16.
And you chose Alex Segal, who is also my agent. He's behind the camera. There he is, very happy with the shout out. Obviously, very good agent. He's with me as well. But that process, everyone wanted a piece of you. So what was that like, and why did you choose where you did?
You know what? I always thought it was going to end. So I was like, I was at, it was funny because I was like, who gives the best option to get a load of money now? Because it'll be over next week. And here we are. In whatever month it is now, I lose track of time, and it's still going. Yeah. And I met with 16 agents, and the thing was, they all sort of offered the same sort of thing. You know, they sell you the dream. It's very easy to sell you the dream. You'll do this, you'll do that. But then I went to Intertalent, and it was like the setup I really liked, and it was like I was scared of going to a big company because I didn't want to get lost. You know, like a small fish, a small fish in a big pond. I didn't want that to happen. So then I was like, I wanted to work with. The thing is with me, like I've said, I'm very like family orientated. So I was like, whoever's going to be my manager is then going to become like my brother.
Part of the family.
Essentially part of the family. Like I said, when I'm a millionaire and I have a boat that you can go on because I'm too seasick, I want the boat with my family on it. And then also like my manager and stuff like that. You know, like that's how I want to work and be that close. So then, when I went to Intertalent, it was just sort of, I was just like, you know what, I like this one the most. That's it. I can't be asked. I
Just
can't
got
be
a
asked to
gut
go to
feeling.
anyone else.
Yeah. Also, don't buy a boat if you get seasick. Just advice with your money. Oh, go on then. I want to know some of the stories and the people you met. In fact, before we do this, talk to me about Gary Neville. Am I right in thinking Gary Neville negotiated your client contracts with your talent agency?
Yeah.
How on earth did that come about?
Honestly, it's the maddest thing. You know what? It's so funny actually, because I remember, I'll tell you a little secret now as well. I remember me and my dad used to sit on the sofa and go, get Gary Neville off this screen. Like,
did you?
Yeah, as a pundit, because he's a Man United fan. And we're all Chelsea. So we're like, we hate anything to do with Man United. Right. And I was like, Neville's so biased to Man United. That's all he cares about, this and that. And then I go and meet him at BBC Breakfast, I think it was, in Manchester.
Yeah.
So he's got a show for Dragon's Den. He just invented in like this Coca company, like a nice coffee thing which was supposed to relax you.
Right.
And it did. It made me feel like high, basically. It was mad. Some mad coffee. And then, so I've gone on the show, come into the green room, and my girlfriend just sat there speaking to Gary Neville's just sat there. I was like, what is going on here? And this was like my first sort of interaction to me, which is still the same now when I see like celebrities that I've seen.
Yeah.
I'm like, you don't think they're normal people?
Yeah, I don't even.
And I don't know why.
Yeah.
Like, because they are just normal people.
Yeah.
Like, I always say this now when everyone says that to me, I didn't want to ask for a photo, I was too scared. It's like, all of our poo stinks at the end of the day. Like, we're all the same. Do you know what I mean? That's the best way to explain it. So then anyway, he's sitting there and he said to me, he started speaking to me about the show and things like that, because his daughter was a fan of the show.
Right, okay.
And I was like, this is mad, you know?
Yeah.
And then starts talking, and then he says, actually, can we get a photo for my daughter? And I was like, Gary Neville just asked me for a photo. I was like, mate, can I get one with you? Do you know what I mean? Like, what are you on about? And then we started talking about, he started asking me about my future and things like that. And I was like, look, I'm in such uncharted waters. I don't know where to turn. Do you know what I mean? I don't know whether I'm going to sink, float or drown. Like, I don't really know what's going on at the minute. And he was like, do not worry, take my number. Gave me his number and was like, ring me as soon as you start getting involved with management. So I'm going to sort everything for you. Don't worry about fees. Don't worry about a lawyer. I'm going to do it for you.
So Gary Neville gave you his number.
Yeah.
Because his daughter is a fan of you. You had a photo. Next thing you know, he is negotiating your contract. With your now agent, Alex.
Yeah, yeah.
So Alex is ringing Gary Neville to sort your contract
yeah,
out.
so
And he's done that free of charge.
I didn't believe it. So I didn't believe it. I remember he gave me his number. And I was like, nah, he's not being serious. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's giving me a false number or something. And then anyway, it came to the 16 management. So I was like, what am I going to do? Do you know what I mean? Like, where do I turn?
Yeah.
And then I was just like, you know what? He told me to, so why not just send him a message? I was so appreciative, obviously, of him just taking a photo, let alone give me his number. And he was like, bang, bang, bang. Are you available for a Zoom, FaceTime, Zoom like this?
Wow.
For the next week. Sent him my contract from that I got sent from Intertalent, and another one. But the other one, we just liked the Intertalent one.
Yeah.
And then he looked through it all. So he went back and forth then, Zooming my now manager, Alex.
Yeah.
Zooming with him, and he had to negotiate with Gary Neville, and he got the best deal for me as well.
Alex is behind the camera nodding, by the way. This is true.
Yeah.
He was on a Zoom call with Gary Neville.
Yeah.
To negotiate your contract. I
To
still
negotiate my contract.
And you're still mates with him now, right? You message him, Chelsea.
I'm going to ask, Chelsea scores, especially if Chelsea beat Man United, especially next season, I'll give it to him in the
Did
neck.
you give him a bit of banter, yeah?
Yeah, 100%.
Good pundit, isn't he?
Yeah,
good pundit.
Yeah, I love him.
You love him now?
I
You've
love
been
him
out for beer with him? How
no,
close are you?
he's so busy.
He is, yeah.
So I'm like, because this is what I was saying, like, for me, I feel very bad when someone does something for me and I don't do something in return.
I know what you mean by that.
Like, I always love to do something back. So I was like, how do you repay someone like Gary Neville? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he was like, I'll buy you a Manchester United shirt. And I was like, nah. I was like, that's too far, Gary. Like, you might have negotiated my contract, but I'll never need a Man United shirt. He was like, just put one on for a photo for me. I was like, all right, you're getting very cheeky now. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. But then I was like, because then I also wanted to send him something, but I didn't want to ask for his address stuff, you know, like a bunch of flowers, a nice drink or something. Then he's just told me when he's in London, he'll let me know when he's finally free, and I'll just take him and the missus out for dinner, I think.
So you're going to take Gary Neville and his wife out for dinner?
I owe him much more than that, but
I love that. Go on, some of the other DMs as well, because you've had, since the show, it went pretty crazy. So tell me about that sort of week and month period. Who messaged you?
Loads of people love the show. So like, a big one for me, obviously, sorry to all the females out there because I'm keeping it on football, was Chelsea. Yeah. So when I went to Chelsea, the sporting director and his family, Paul Whitstanley, watched the show. All the family loved it, and I was like, this is amazing. Because then they started inviting me to the box. They got me and my family a table in the restaurant in Wembley for the Chelsea-Liverpool Cup final.
Yeah.
And like I
saw you there.
Yeah, and I feel like it must have been the best moment for me because I feel like I was so happy that my dad must be so proud. So one of my very fond moments of when I was little, I was 11 and my dad never had the dough really to take all 3 of us boys to a Chelsea game.
Right.
It was always, he'd get one out of a blue moon and then it was one of our turns to go, if you know what I mean.
Got you, yeah.
So for my 11th birthday, and it was normally someone else's season tickets, don't tell Chelsea that, but he would took me for my 11th birthday. And as a birthday present, he took me down to the halfway line at half time, like behind the barrier and stuff. And he said, look up at the screen, mate. And I looked up and it said, happy 11th birthday, Harry Clark, around Stamford Bridge. Yeah. And I thought, you know what? Like I remember that feeling. I'll never forget because then everyone started saying happy birthday to me. Yeah. Felt like a little celebrity.
Yeah.
So then
that's class.
When I got invited to Chelsea and I was given a Chelsea top, taking photos, pitch side, standing on the pitch.
Amazing.
And then I did an interview for the screens around the Stamford Bridge. Yeah. I'm like, imagine what my dad must feel, man.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Crazy.
And your mates are like Conor Gallagher now through it, right?
Well, yeah, through, so his cousins, like, his cousin is like the best person I've ever met. He's called Riley Gallagher. And he's just like such a laugh and he loved the Traitors. Fortunately, Conor never watched it. Right. But through him, I've played Fortnite like with Conor and stuff like that. And he's sick as well. I remember spectating him.
Fortnite with Conor Gallagher
Yeah, he's sick at Fortnite. But like other players like Colwill, Reece James, they watched it. And Reece James asked me like when I'm in London and I'm free, give him a message on Insta and we'll go for dinner.
That's class.
And like to me, it's like, these people are legend. Like he gave me the best time of my life. Yeah. When we beat Man City in a Champions League final. Yeah. That would never be topped.
And he's saying go to dinner with you. Yeah. And it's not just Chelsea players that you have messaged you, is it? Nah. I mean, go on, give us some of the names you're talking about off camera because it's
so that's just sports. And then you got people like who I've watched growing up as a kid, like KSI. That to me
what
was.
What did KSI message you when you won the Traitors?
So he messaged me something very well played. Like that's what he said. Yeah. Very well played, Harry, you smashed it.
So he messaged you something about the final scene.
The final scene, yeah.
Okay. And then, just saying you smashed it. So when you get that message from KSI, having won the Traitors, how did you react to that?
I didn't even know what to say, you know, like it was one of them where that was like a fanboy moment. I screenshot it, sent it to my mates and that. And I was like, this is where it's like next level.
Was that the one you're most proud of, the KSI message? Of all
no, I don't know. Look, there's so many things I've been so proud of and so grateful to do. Like, because you go from that experience and then you have a total flip side where I get invited to the DRV Gold Awards in Buckingham Palace. Yeah, wow. And it's like, I've joined the army to serve the royal family and serve my country. And then now I'm somewhere where they live and it's just mental. That you know, so it's like, then you go from that experience to the next, and it just doesn't all make sense. It's just like a whirlwind. And my feet literally haven't touched the ground still. And it's just riding that wave and keeping it going.
Did Rishi Sunak message you as
well?
Yeah,
Rishi Sunak messaged me.
I love the fact you're just forgetting all these names. It's crazy. What did he say?
No, that was just about the national service and if I agreed with it and stuff. But I don't get involved in politics. No. I think no matter what, anyone's opinion's wrong to someone. So I just keep my opinions to myself. I was like, cheers, yeah.
Fair play. So of all of them, the KSI one was the one that meant the most to you, was it? Because of the childhood in you, basically.
Yeah, but then at the same time, like Matt Healy out of 1975.
Yeah, the band.
Absolutely mental. So you know Chocolate from like Sweet Like Chocolate. Yeah. Like when you play FIFA. It was on a FIFA song. That's where I remember it from anyway. And we go there to the O2 and we get invited anyway. You think it can't get much better than this. And me and Paul were there together. Yeah. And also it gets a little worse for me because Matt Healy gave us a shout out on stage. Yeah. So the lights came to where we're standing. Me and Alex are in the toilet and grabbing the beers that Paul's made us go and grab, funny enough. So he's there with the light on him, soaks it all in, does his bow.
And the winner of the Traitors is in the toilet.
The winner on the Traitors is on the toilet and can't even get a beer because the bars were shut. Oh. Then after that, we were like, we need to go give him some in the front crowd. So we went down in the front crowd, got as close as we could. I was like giving him the love hearts and that. Yeah. And then he invites us backstage afterwards.
That's amazing.
And we're just chilling, having a beer with Matt Healy. Who then gave me his number and said, if you're ever out in London, look, I'm going to be sorted for dinner.
You're sorted for lunch tonight, mate. You're in London tonight. You're laughing, mate. So in terms of the craziest experience, and there's probably too many to mention, but I mean, in terms of where the Traitors has taken you, because it was a massive show, wasn't it? It was watched by millions of people. I felt like when you came out, it was all anyone was talking about. So what's been the best moment since coming out? Is it the family moments, or is it being going to Chelsea?
Yeah,
is it
100%.
the messages from people?
Do you know what I think the nicest thing about coming out of the Traitors is the response by public? Because when I was up there, I was so worried that like ruining people's chances who have families. Everyone had their story. Do you know what I mean? Everyone came from different backgrounds. Everyone needed the money just like everyone does nowadays, cost of living crisis and stuff. So when you're up there and you're like ruining people's chances essentially of winning money, you're like, oh my God, how's this going to come across? Because I like to think of myself as a well-mannered young man. I've been brought up right and I just love everyone. I just want to help as many people as I can, kids, this and that. I didn't want that to not come across on TV. So I was so worried. And then now it's funny because when me and Paul go to the pub or we film our podcast or we go and have out for a chat or something, someone will come up and go, oh, Harry, I loved you in the Traitors. You were so innocent, this and that. They look at Paul and go, I effing hate you.
Really?
And he just laughs. But he soaks it in because he was that, he liked playing the villain, you know, the pantomime villain. He was like, I wanted to be the new Nasty Nick. That was his persona he put on. But he's not like that in real life.
No.
But me, I just wanted to come across as myself because all I was trying to do there was be myself.
Yeah.
And I feel like I appreciated that the most upon leaving the Traitors. And also the best thing to hear has been like how many people watched it, as in generations. Like it brought families together back to the sofa.
Yeah.
So like I remember one time I got in an Uber to London and the Uber geezer jumps out and goes, I was like, oh God, what's happening? Like he's going to kick me out or something. He was like, come on, get out. And I was like, what's happened here? And he was like, we need to get a selfie. Took a selfie of me. Then got back in the car and as we're driving into London, he was like, he's got 3 boys and it takes like him, it's a mission to get them all back in the house at one time because one's a teenager, one's going through this, one's going through that. But he said every Friday they would be around, we'd be on the same sofa, they'd order in a takeaway and they'd watch each, like all 3 of the episodes that week on the Friday, first 2 and then 1 live on the Friday. And I just think that has been the best thing to be able to hear. It's brought that sense of relief to family who's been able to watch it together, but then also the escape from reality.
Yeah.
Like everyone, like especially January.
Yeah.
Like what a crap month January is. Do you know what I mean? Everyone hates January, and if you're born in January, it's just long, isn't it?
Yeah, it's cold.
But like
and
it's
long,
cold.
Yeah.
Like no one's got no money. Everyone hates life. They're going back to work after Christmas.
Yeah.
And to hear that it gave people a sense of happiness is all that.
That's a really nice way to
thing.
reflect on it. Obviously, the 90 grand is also good and helps you, but it's not. It's nice that you look at that as a really powerful aspect of the show that you brought families together, and it certainly did. It was like almost the perfect storm for you, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And you're doing so much now, and it's great to see. Where do you like to be, just finally, in sort of 5 years? What's the plan for Harry going forward? Obviously, you got your podcast. I imagine we're going to see you on other TV bits soon. But where do you see yourself? Are you going to be back in the army one day? Do you want to have your own TV show? What's the aim? What's the goal?
So I think like I will just go for anything really, like not anything and everything. Obviously I'm very well managed and they send me in the right paths, but whatever it is, I'm going to hold on to it and be the best at it. So like say in 5 years time, I see this podcast doing very well and like with just the people, because it's such an enjoyment, things like that, I want to be on more TV shows, like more reality shows. Then I also want my own shows where it comes into my life, because I just want to be able to resonate with people. That's what I think the Traitors done for me. They could resonate with me as in like, he's just a working class lad who's on TV and being himself. So I still want to bring that vibe to people and get them on their sofas watching. Then at the same time, I have a complete flip side where I want to start my own businesses on the side where I can give back again. And luckily, hopefully I'll have the help of Gary Neville through that as well, because obviously he's a very good businessman. So I have a few plans to give back to the army, as in a couple companies I want to start up, taking people from the army, giving them opportunities in Civvy Street and sort of keeping that military aspect to it, so then they don't lose themselves when they come onto civilian street. In 5 years time, it's a good question. I just see myself doing everything. I see myself misfits boxing, going for the top.
Fancy boxing.
100%.
Yeah, have you got a name, someone you'd like to fight?
Yeah, Tommy Fury. I met him at the sports.
Tommy Fury.
Yeah, he's the nicest guy ever. But I feel like misfits, he's number one. So if I'm not going for number one, is
there a plan in place for you to actually fight Tommy Fury?
Not to fight him. I don't think he really remembers who I am. But like,
you'd like that
in 5 years' time. Yeah, I reckon that'll be where I'm at. Definitely with the boxing. Yeah, because I loved boxing so much as a kid, and then obviously where I was jumped, I weren't allowed to box for 2 years.
Right.
So now I haven't been in the ring for so long. that
So
can sort of be my
have you got a
comeback.
bit in the ring then? You reckon you could? I mean, Tommy Fury, that's a big level to go in at, isn't it?
Oh, if you ain't shooting for the stars, then what's the point of shooting at all?
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Wow.
Going for it all. And then obviously from there, I feel like I've covered everything. I just want to take over, basically.
Yeah.
I'm not, as Conor McGregor would say, I'm not here to take part. I'm here to take over.
I think, mate, I think it's the perfect note to end it with. Watch this space, the Gary Neville and Harry Clark show, and In the Ring with Tommy Fury. If you make either of them happen, mate, I'll be watching both of them. But, mate, thank you so much. I know firsthand, considering we have the same agency, how busy you are, and you're giving your time up again to come in. So, as I say, I've got to know you a lot since you come out, and you've been very honest and open on this pod, and really appreciate you coming on, top man.
Thanks for having me, mate. Cheers. I'll see you at the next event because we seem to see each other everywhere.
We will. We do. Top man, eh?